Sam Gainsborough is a director and animator whose work mixes analog and digital techniques in unusual ways to create beautifully tactile films. Sam's recent short film, Facing It, was set in a bustling pub, if anyone remembers those, and explored the topic of social anxiety, with the protagonist's struggle playing out in plasticine across his highly expressive face. Really, though, I won't be able to do it justice alone in words. So let's get Sam up to talk us through this. Sam, if you wouldn't mind turning your audio and video on, so we can say hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, amazing. I just want to say, firstly, thanks so much for having me. It's been so nice listening to all the talks so far. Super inspiring. It's amazing. It's really great.
It's been great, and I'm sure you'll be as well. I'm really looking forward to this. Over to you, really.
Cool. So I was just thinking about the best way to introduce the film, because we're going to watch it now. It's a bit of a funny film to talk about without everyone having seen it. So I think the best way for me to set it up is, I guess, if I just talk slightly about my run up to that point before making it. So really, I fell in love with animation when I was a little kid, like watching old things like Trapdoor and Wallace and Gromit and all those old claymation, early Aardman, really expressive films that were covered in fingerprints. I really, really loved that, and that got me into animating at a very young age. And then as I grew up, I eventually got more into live action filmmaking, and especially script writing. Like when I went to university, I studied screenwriting. And it was doing that for 3 years, I really started to miss the sort of being surrounded by mess and paint and things like that. So as soon as I graduated from that course, I sort of U-turned my career path, decided I wanted to become an animation director. And then for a few years, I just made music videos and started really experimenting with different techniques. And I like to think of it now as a bit of a belated foundation year, really, for me. So I did that for a few years, making lots of different music videos, trying out lots of different techniques. Lots of those music videos, I hope you never see. They're pretty bad. But it was a good exploration for me, just creatively. And then a few years after doing that, I came to discover about the Master's Directing Animation course at the National Film and Television School, which seemed like a really great opportunity for me to sort of bring everything together, because by that point, I sort of started missing script writing and storytelling, but still loved all these animation techniques. So in a way, the film that we're about to watch is my first experience of just like trying to cram all those things together in a way. And it was a process of really learning and thinking about how a film's technique can really like get under the skin of a character and communicate something that straight live action wouldn't be able to. So yeah, I guess we can play the film now. It's only 8 minutes, and then once the film's finished, I'll just give a real quick behind the scenes run through of everything. But yeah, we can show the film now.
Oh, well, okay. Right, seems that right.
Sam, I'm just going to pop back up to say, because I feel like if you'd done that in Nicer Tuesdays, if we'd shown that, there would have been a huge round of applause at the end of it. And just going to say for everyone at home watching how amazing that was. I'll leave you to it now, but yeah, just wanted to say that.
Oh, thanks for that, because it would have been slightly weird we just start talking. But yeah, no, I hope it streamed okay for everyone at home. But the film is online, so if anyone couldn't see it smoothly for any reason, if you just Google Sam Gainsborough facing it, will pop up. So yeah, we can go to the presentation now, and I'll just give a real run through behind the scenes of that. So before we start, here's some little clips of my other work. So I finished the film about 2 years ago, and the film's still on the festival circuit now, which is really amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. It seems to resonate with audiences all over the world, really, which is so good. And it definitely, for me and my career, is just such a turning point. It really feels like it was the first time I made something where it just felt like, yeah, this is me. This is the direction I want to be going in. And the last couple of years, I've made quite a lot of other work, and I still really just want to embrace fingerprints, wet paint dripping on walls, things that are just super tactile. And I just love that in any art form, really, when an audience can just really understand how something was made. I think that just makes it's way more tangible and way more, it includes the audience in a way. It's a bit like a magic trick, you know. It's sort of like a good magic trick. The audience just wants to understand how it's done. I can't quite explain myself, really, but there's something about when a film or any art, really, when the materials used are just completely honest in what they are. So yeah, so I think I'll just go straight to the beginning of the process, really, because it's obviously such a strange one. I just need to take control of this presentation first. So, right at the beginning of the process, we actually, I basically made a bit of a test film. So I mentioned it briefly earlier, but this whole project was done as my final piece on my master's directing animation course at the NFGS. And that course was really amazing. It's like a 2-year course, and in the first year they get you to go and experiment with any weird ideas that you might have. And this idea for this sort of like animated mask technique was an idea that I'd had in a few years before going to the film school, which I wanted to try and do as a music video, but it would obviously cost so much and take so much time. It was really impossible to try it out without being in the situation that I later got to be in at the NFGS. So this is the test film, which I actually persuaded my housemates to come into our garage at our house. We made the garage look like a pub, made them wear these masks. I made this little test film. So it was really rough around the edges, and I've never showed this to anyone before, so you're all the first people to see it outside of the film school. So yeah, it was super, super rough, but we discovered quite quickly that the idea would work. It was quite simple to get it to work in quite a rough way. Like here you can see the faces are really sliding around, but it was in this shot where just making his mouth disappear, we really realized how powerful this technique could be in really I guess saying a lot about the human condition, and we really tried to explore what feelings we could express through this technique. So yeah, it was really exciting. Maybe it might have made us a little bit too confident because as we started developing the script, as we started developing the script, we were very quick to write in lots of characters. It was a very, very busy pub, which made it, obviously, as you'll soon see, a very crazy process. But the writing the film was a really great experience. I co-wrote the film with Louisa Wood, who's an amazing writer, mainly live action, but she's doing more animation now. And we basically sat down at the beginning and just really tried to think of all the like metaphors we could use this technique for. And quite quickly, it seemed like all of the stories that we were sort of writing around this idea, it was always to do with a character like repressing the way they're feeling. It was always to do with repression. We very quickly wrote a main character whose skin was covered in rock and he was struggling to express himself. That later became used for the character's parents. It's quite late in the process. I actually started drawing images that you can see here of hands all over the main character's face. And that made a sort of really quickly made a really fun way to communicate a character's inner struggle. It's obviously like hands on faces like this. It's been used in other places as well. And definitely films by like Jan Spankmeyer were a huge inspiration right at the beginning. But we wrote so many films, and in the end, it seemed like every story we were writing, we were sort of trying to say the same thing. In the end, I think the thing that made it was a huge challenge, but it made us refine our ideas, was we really decided to use no dialogue. We thought using this technique, if we're also using words, then we haven't really got to the root of what we can just be telling visually. And I'm so glad that we made that decision, because the way the film has been received all around the world, I don't think that would have happened if the characters were speaking English the whole time. I think it really made us think, how can we communicate each moment of the film visually? So yeah, the writing I think the writing process went on for about, it was months. I'm not going to remember I'm not going to be able to tell you all of the exact amount of times and things like that, because it's all a bit of a haze to me. But I think it was about three months of writing. And then we got to the point where, if I can play this, we made an animatic. So if you're making an animated film, you first work up your storyboards, and then you put these storyboards onto a timeline until you have just like a complete blueprint of the whole film, which was super important. I worked closely with the editor, M. Demiri, who we just really scrutinized the need for every shot. We knew every shot in the film was going to be a huge amount of work, so we just wanted to make sure that every shot really needed to be there. So yeah, we finished the animatic, and then from that point on, it was time we'd have to start building everything. And I mentioned before that I think we were maybe a little bit too confident after the test film, which we made in the garage. And I was soon slightly overwhelmed by the amount of masks we had to make to fill the pub. And I had no idea really how to do it. So in the end, it was sort of like a paper mache, but with fabric, with plasticine sort of smeared on the top, with felt wool spray mounted to the top. It was completely just rushing, making it up as we sort of went along, because there was no rule book really. We were just sort of making it up, which was a crazy experience, but it was really fun. So while I was in one room sort of just making as many masks as possible, the amazing production designer Fiona Guest was actually building a life-size pub on the main stage. This is probably the first bit where I'll really plug how amazing the NFTS is as a film school, because for me it was the only place where you could go and study directing animation, but you'd get facilities that you would on like a live action course. So amazingly, we could actually build a life-size pub to shoot our film in, which you can see here. So yeah, we painted it really vibrant, crazy colors. And yeah, and quite quickly the shoot came round. So we were filming in live action with little bits of pixelation. Pixelation's where you're shooting stop motion, but you're sort of using real people as puppets, like Jan Spankmeyer films. But we shot a lot in live action. I can play this. So yeah, here's just from the rushes, just like our opening take, what it looked like, which was pretty crazy. It was like, looking back to it, I probably one of the most stressful times ever. all of the masks were completely handmade and sort of falling apart mid-shot, which was so funny. You can see me there with the DOP Bruno Grillo. We're both just like slightly overwhelmed. You can see us there really like stressing out. The amount of color that was just everywhere was slightly overwhelming. But it was so funny and it was just so much fun. It was one of those experiences where I was just thinking, I can't believe that so many people have got roped into this completely crazy idea. So yeah, here's our amazing cast. And it was a really mad shoot because it's so weird. Anyone that's done any live action, it's like you're framing and the actors' faces and eyes are so important that in a way for us, it would be like, we'd be directing the actors, we'd be trying to get the shot that we needed, but when they would move, I would sort of have to simultaneously figure out, all right, that little gesture they did, can I make that work? What would the face need to be to logically make that movement work? It was all really complicated, but kind of fascinating. So yeah, we also did the location shoots, which, I mean, this is just like the best shot ever. It's little Rufus there. So yeah, with all the outside scenes, I really wanted it to feel like the outside location shoots were as fake as the world that we'd built. So we went to like Kent, went to Dungeness, to scenes that were just like crazily flat and felt a bit like something from a dream, just so it didn't feel quite right. So it almost felt a bit staged. That was really important to me. So yeah, we actually went around just looking at different gardens and knocked on some doors, and we found it for the barbecue scene, this amazing huge garden which just had this really weirdly symmetrical like hedge to the ground. So again, to get that slightly strange aesthetic. And there's the amazing producer Jimmy, who got the fun task of blowtorching the tongue on the barbecue. There'll be a lot of this in this little run through. I did sort of just keep coming up with ideas I thought might be funny as like little techniques. And yeah, but burning the plasticine tongue was the first one of those slightly will this work. But yeah, looked pretty great in the film. So yeah, so after the live action shoot was finished, then we went into basically like 6 months of stop motion, which you can see a time lapse of me. Let me play it. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy. I don't know if I recommend it to anyone to animate a sad head on a stick for 6 months, but it was, I mean, it was such a fun process because again, we hadn't seen anyone doing this process before. And what we did was all the footage that we shot in live action, I'd bring into the stop motion software and see it as a reference layer. And if anyone knows, there's an animation technique called rotoscoping, which would be, you'd film live action and you would frame by frame draw over the live action. So you could like trace the movement, or you could augment the reality of it. And in a way, this was doing that in stop motion. We would have the live action that we shot, which I can show you in a second. We'd have the live action that we shot, and frame by frame, I would sort of trace it with what I was animating in stop motion, which that's me and another animator, Isabel Garrett, helping me there. If I go to the next clip, I think you can see what I'm talking about. Sorry, my computer's being a little bit slow. Okay, so yeah, here's just a selection of clips. So yeah, it was all just shot on a green screen. As you can see here, it's like I would have a sort of see-through layer of the live action shots that we filmed, and I'd be like moving it and matching the movement just by eye, frame by frame, as best I could. So in the film, it's not completely perfect, but I think that there's a lot of charm in that, hopefully. Cool. So beyond all the faces, again, I mentioned before about just like sticking in crazy ideas in there. It was important to me for some reason that the dad at the barbecue was eating a real burger. So here we had to gaffer tape an actual real beef burger to the plasticine thing, which was pretty disgusting. Again, I don't recommend it to anyone, but it was pretty funny. The bit where his head like explodes and it fills the whole screen, that whole shot was actually the size of a really massive table, and I had to drag in some friends to help me animate it because I completely rubbed off my fingerprints and had blisters all over my hands just to keep the plasticine moving. In the years after the NFDS, I discovered heat guns, which are amazing to just heat up the plasticine, and it sort of turns it into paint. Back at the NFDS, I just didn't really know, so I just dragged in lots of people to help out. And then, again, a big plug for the NFDS. It was amazing that we built this bar and we got to destroy it in stop motion. So I really wanted to do a crazy transition, which you see in the film. So I got like Louisa, the writer, and Jimmy and Bruno, everyone came. People were painting bottles in the bar blue. People were staple gunning hay all over the bar and all over the walls just to make this crazy transition. And we didn't have a motion control, so we actually just measured out on the floor the steps for the camera to move back. So we just moved the camera frame by frame to create that camera move. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's a lot going on in that one. Might have skipped a slide. So, and then after we, actually I want to go back a slide if that's okay. So my computer is a little bit laggy. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, yeah, this is the one I want. Yeah, so the backbone of the film was just to animate all of these characters. So here you can just see the scale it was. I actually don't know the number, but in the end, the amount of plasticine we used was 1/2 ton. So it was absolutely loads. I completely had enough of animating these crazy characters by the end of it. But yeah, it was about 6 months of just claymation and animation. It's pretty crazy. And then I'll play this. So by this point, at the end of as the heads would be finished in stop motion, we would gradually update the timeline. So we sort of had this edit that was ever growing and transforming, which I'm hoping I can play you, where sometimes you'd see shots like this where the characters' faces aren't on. Oh, maybe not. Okay, doesn't matter. And basically you'd see all huge bits of rigs and bits of green screen, and basically the whole thing was just like a crazy mess. The amount of work that needed to be done to tidy up the whole film was completely insane. As you can see here, there's a bit of a time lapse of, if anyone knows a software called After Effects, it's really good for like finishing up and compositing animation. We didn't quite realize the amount of work that it would need to be, which would just be frame by frame by eye. We'd have to go in and cut out around the neck of the characters to get rid of bits of the rig. This process, which was not a fun process, ended up being, I don't even know, I don't want to figure it out, probably another 5 months continuously doing this, which Demiri, the film's editor, was absolutely amazing, and just me and him just like stuck through the process to get it finished. But yeah, so it was pretty mad. And obviously I'm now like running out of time. There's sort of like endless things to talk about on this film, but I just wanted to mention the work that Jack Newton and Adam Woodhams did, sound designer and composer, because as I said before, it was really important to me that we didn't use any language, just so we could really get to the heart of the technique and the story. But we also set the film in a busy pub with loads of people talking. So Adam, doing the sound design, had to figure out a way to make the characters speak. And I didn't want that to be funny or twee. I really wanted it to be kind of maybe cool, how he augmented the voices. And I think what he did in the end was completely amazing. And equally, Jack Newton, the music we did so many drafts, and we just didn't want to have the music be like going with certain visual themes, because visually the film was so busy. Having music that was doing like too much or scoring everything just made it pretty overwhelming. And we just wanted the music to be pretty fun and, again, kind of cool, which I think they did a fantastic job. So I just wanted to mention it there. And equally, I think I just wanted to say, like, the thing with animation, there's a bit of a stereotype with it, which I don't necessarily like, which is it's people all over in sheds making their animated film. And I feel like the thing that going to the NFTS really taught me is it's so exciting to collaborate with so many people that are way better than you. And yeah, the core team that I made the film with, it was just such a fantastic experience of, yeah, just collaboration. So yeah, I think that's everything I was going to say. I hope that made sense. I don't know.
Thanks very much, Sam. That was absolutely amazing to see. I can't believe it. 6 months, half a ton of plasticine. That's just crazy. I also love seeing those people sitting at the bar with those masks on. Yeah, just was really great. Thanks so much for that insight. I guess just one question for you really is just, I mean, you obviously, I'm presuming you're a bit sick of using that technique, but what was the one thing you learned about that technique that, you know, what it's capable of really?
I mean, I'm definitely not done with it. I felt like it's been quite good to have a step or have a break from it, because I've gone to try and start writing the next film quite a few times, and it seems like it's still been in the same process of writing the same film again and again. Right. Whereas I feel like stepping away, and I've done in the last couple of years some other techniques to try and branch out, and I feel like I've started to think about what the sort of next version is. I think, you know, there's something about just creating like an augmented reality that is super interesting to me. If I recently did a thing for Take Britain, which was like bringing William Blake's paintings to life, which was, if anyone knows that there's an amazing filmmaker called like Blue that does these amazing street art, frame by frame, moving stop motion street art things. And I wanted to sort of experiment with a visual style that was a bit like that. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
That's all right. No, it was quite a broad question. So yeah, all good.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, there's something about that, just like changing whatever part of reality you want to change to tell your story is sort of like an infinite like wealth of, you know, I think if the street is normal but something is wrong, the question of why that thing is wrong can say so much so quickly. So yeah, I want to keep writing in that direction really.
Amazing. Well, if that's anything to go by, it's all going to be very, very exciting. Sam, we're going to have to leave it there.